This is Bottomlineburke.
Respect.
The expensive truth with Bottomlineburke. The expensive truth with Bottomlineburke.
The expensive truth with Bottomlineburke.
And that's straight to the bottom line.
This is Bottomlineburke and the expensive truth. This one right here is special because my special guest is just not just a guest. This is family. We go back to the main streets of Boston, Linux. This is somebody I'm proud of. This is somebody I have profound respect for. He doesn't know this. I think I might have shared this with him, but I remember when he was at Cambridge Region Latin, and despite him never winning a game in high school, I remember framing the picture of the Boston Globe, which is the local paper. We had a picture of Jason and talking about how he wanted to get a win. But I didn't care about none of that. Only thing that mattered to me was he was in the paper. And so I went off to play sports, and he went off into the military. He went off to become a distinguished police officer in one of the most dangerous cities in America, Baltimore, Maryland. I believe my history is correct, 8th in the nation.
8th largest. Yeah.
8th largest in the nation. He's continuously got promoted, continuously did the impossible just as far as receiving rank, higher rank, to the point where he got to change his shirt. You got to change the color of the shirt, the white shirt, right? You report to the job, the white shirt. So I don't want to mess it up, but what's your official title? Because just recently, within the last month or two, you got promoted again.
Yeah.
So what is your official title as of May 9th, 2025?
Lieutenant Colonel, the Assistant Chief of Patrol.
Okay. So, in layman's terms, there's 2,000 men and women in his force, but there's only 4 men or women that's ranked higher than him. Outstanding. Without further ado, I want to introduce my cousin, Jason Bennett. You're welcome to the show.
Yeah, no doubt. That's all right. Now, this is the expensive truth, so we're going to make sure we, the mic, slide it over.
Yeah, when you want to speak and play.
Yeah, this is the expensive truth, so we want to make sure we keep it truth. So that article came out when I was a junior, and we had it on a game.
Right.
Until I became the captain. And we ended up winning half the games our senior year. And it was such a big turnaround that they let us play our Turkey Day game in Harvard Stadium.
I remember that.
Yeah. So it was a big dip. It was a big dip. It was a long time coming. 3 years straight without a win. It was a tough thing to do, but those were the days, man.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Those are the days, and that was a time, and so time has passed, and we're in different seasons of our life at different ages and stages. Some things change, some things remain the same, and I'll be remiss to have you on my show without asking you. I played football and seen plenty of gruesome injuries. I seen somebody's ankles that are facing this way, face that way.
Yeah.
Right. Me personally, if I see blood, I get a little squeamish.
Yeah.
Right. Can you describe for the audience, what is it like to receive a call and then enter into somebody's house or apartment or on the street to see somebody no longer breathing, or see somebody's head blown off, or some horrific things that unfortunately happen in the line of business that you're in? Can you kind of talk to the audience about what happens under those circumstances?
So it's different. The first time you see it, to be honest with you, it's almost like it's not real. It looks like, when it's Halloween, you go and you see like, the fake stuff that they do in haunted houses and things of that nature. It seems a lot like that in the beginning, right? But then over time, obviously, it becomes real to you. But I think the most important part is it's the cumulative effect and how life changes, right? For example, I remember going to situations where horrible things happened to kids were boiled in hot water, thrown down his heads, things of that nature. And I could go to a scene as an investigator, and it never really bothered me until after I had my first daughter. I remember to this day the first time I showed it to a call after I had, with a kid evolved. After I had my first child, she was still an infant. I took time off, of course, when she was born. I showed back up to work, and within about 2 weeks of me working, I go to a call where, as a guy, this is the Baltimore. A lot of people in the streets of Baltimore. A lot of people are like, selling drugs or doing other nefarious things to make money. But this guy, he was in the streets for a long time. Found out his girlfriend was pregnant, and he stopped everything, started working 2 jobs, and really tried to turn his life around for his child. This particular night, came home after his first job, had a few hours that he could rest before going to his second job. His girlfriend wasn't feeling well. He said, "Hey, I'll take the baby out to the couch with him, and you can get some rest because I got to go to my second job. It's nothing else. I have to do it." While he fell asleep, we rolled over on the child, smothered the child died. And just to hear a grown man, a tough guy, in Baltimore, you learn quickly who's really tough guys and who's not, right? And this was really a tough guy.
Right.
And to see a person like that breaking down, feeling like, I did everything to try to do the right thing. And look what happened, right?
Yeah. Only thing I could think of that's reminiscent of that, the Mike Tyson when something happened to one.
Yeah. Right. That's Mike. Right? That's Mike Tyson. Yes, right. To see him crush the broken light, right, and to just see that play out. And for me, just looking at the child, how small and fragile a kid was, and knowing that I had a child like that at home, and we think about that could be you. Like that's when those things start to connect that can be used, right? It's not always about the really bad things that happen. It's about the things that are closer to your life that really hit home, right? And those are tough ones. I just had one the other day where kids at home playing with a gun, 6-year-old, 2 6-year-olds and a 14-year-old left alone at the house. They find the gun, and ultimately, was 6-year-old ends up getting his head shot, getting shot in the head, and he ultimately dies. Wow. And just to think of the trauma that's going to cause so many people, right? The 2 other kids that was in the house had to deal with that for the rest of their lives.
Right.
The parents, and then the other people who came and saw it, right? We're talking about, to hear officers who've been in this job for a long time say that's the worst thing they've ever seen. Yes, right. That's tough to hear, because that's that trauma that they have to still now. They still have to finish out their workday. Right? Some of these people came, and this is their first call of the day. Right. And if they're not the primary or whatever have you, once they get released from that scene, they have another, let's say 5 hours, 4 hours left to go out and go with calls and be responsive. And hear this complaining about something that's insignificant in comparison, right?
Correct.
And we have to try to balance, like, to them, that insignificant thing isn't insignificant.
Right.
But it's hard to feel like that when you just came back from seeing this. Right.
Yeah, I do remember you talking about that briefly. Can you share what you decided to do when you found out one of the primary, is new?
Oh, okay, yeah. So doing this a long time, we realize, you got to be exposed to trauma, right? And What I did in this particular scene was I stopped everybody else from going into the house, right? The person who came to the scene later, it was actually her what we call a post, which is that area of responsibility, and any calls that come out there, they're supposed to handle. However, she was doing something else, so the other officer being there first, and rather than saying, okay, let's keep what we call post integrity, and since this is your post, you handle it, I say, which officers already went in and witnessed this son's child, right? I want no one else to go in and witness this, right? Because all you're doing is adding more trauma to these people, right? And I don't know how much trauma a person can take. People have different thresholds, right? So what we're trauma. And when we think about just life, no matter where you are, people can grow up in the same household, under the same roofs, be exposed to the same things. Some kids can come out of it okay, and the other ones can have lifelong issues because of it, right? It's just it's a matter of how much trauma a person could take. So I just try to be real mindful about that, and as a supervisor, make the right decisions, try to keep people away from trauma as much as I can. Yeah. Because unfortunately in Baltimore, there's a lot to go around.
Now, is that a common practice where you didn't allow that new officer or whoever didn't witness that to prevent them from walking into that scene to minimize the trauma? Is that something like a common practice, or is that something you just learned from your experience? You thinking back, hey, they got their whole career to witness as much trauma as possible, so I'm gonna try to start to put these healthy barriers in play.
Over time, it comes with time, it comes with experience. You know, once you've been doing it for as long as I've been doing it, going on 27 years, start to look at things, the scenes, and things start to slow down enough for you to make different decisions. Right. It's hard to make a decision like that as a new sergeant, a new supervisor, a new lieutenant, a new officer, because you're just out there trying to do your job. Right. You're not thinking about 5, 10, 15 years down the line. Mm-hmm. But a call like that could haunt you for the rest of your life. The rest of your life. Yeah.
Absolutely. And just to think, on the outside looking in, I appreciate you sharing this as well, because my mind is going, I can't imagine. I've been on jobs that, quite frankly, I had no business on. I can't stand it. I want to leave immediately. And to think that anything happens that horrific that you just described is all the excuse I need to walk out the door for the day, maybe even the week. Right. Yet the responsibility and duty as an officer is to remain on duty and fulfill it for the remainder of the day. What's the protocol? Is it like, okay, if I feel like I'm at capacity, am I allowed to kind of call in, or is that frowned upon? Or is it just understood this is part of the job that you signed up for and you have to continue your shift?
That's a great question.
I'm only gonna give my best.
That's a great question. That's a great question. So law enforcement mental health is a very recent thing that we also cut. And when we're looking at a lot of things that's happened since policing has been a thing, a lot of it we're attributing to race, or we're attributing to a bunch of things. And make no mistake about it, I'm not saying that it doesn't play a part of it at all. I'm not even trying to hint to that. But what I'm saying is this: when you had for all of these years a male dominated profession, okay, and males growing up for the majority of time that we can think about being told that showing your emotions is a vulnerable thing, right? You don't want to come off as vulnerable, right? So you don't have the conversations about your mental health at all. All you do is you go to this call, and if you do show that vulnerability, you're looked at as weak. So you hide it. You hide it in the bottle, you hide it in whatever. Take it out on the next person. Whatever you have to do to find that release from that what's going on mentally, right? So for so long in law enforcement, you have officers who've been dealing with trauma, and I can't just blame it on the job. We pretend like life isn't life, right? So, an officer there are parents out there who deal with problems with their children, right? Problems with their kids in school, or who knows what. You come to work right after that, and you're expected to just turn that off, right? As if you are a machine. And that's not a reality. So it's a recent thing where we really and truly try to pay attention to officers' mental health. And yes, you can. If you see something, you deal with something, you need that mental break, you can. And we try to make it comfortable for the officers to do that, right? Because, you understand hurt people, right? So we can't have them out there feeling feeling something that could cause them to be on edge and make that bad decision, right? So, yeah, it's new, but it is happening.
Because I know commonly the mentality as a civilian that I heard repeatedly over the last few decades with respects to officers is, I'm just trying to get home, just trying to make it home just like you. I'm trying to make it home like you, but just completely I'm oblivious to that is a commonplace of them walking in to see such a raw, unhumane dismantlement or disconfiguration of a human body.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like that alone, it's like this ain't Sinners. Ryan Coogler movie. I highly recommend you go check that out, but yes, yeah. But what I'm saying is that in all seriousness, it's like, wow, it does provide a different level of empathy, different level of compassion. And I guess the question is, are there any tests? We do on a regular job, this personality test. Absolutely. Are there any type of tests to kind of gauge emotional capacity or intelligence for officers?
Absolutely. But the problem is, let's think about this. You got to put it in perspective a little bit, right? Look at Baltimore. So let's look at 2015 to 2023, for example, right? About 500,000 people in Baltimore City. And there were about anywhere from 320 to 340 homicides every year. And about 2,000 cops in the city. So that's just homicides. It's not shootings. That's just homicide. I believe 2017, for example, New York City had 290 some odd homicides. And Baltimore City had 330, I think, 8. Wow. Right? There are 9 million people in New York and 30,000 cops. And I say that to say,
Say that again. There's 500,000 residents
in Baltimore.
And how many cops?
And 2,000. But in New York City, there's 9 million people and 30,000 cops.
Wow.
Right. So, and we're talking about just homicides. We're not talking about the non-fatal shootings, right? When you go there, someone shot 6, 7 times and they live, but they're still shot. It's still a major thing for you to see. That happens triple the rate of homicides. So, right, so there's probably close to 1,000 people get shot and don't die. But I say that to say, when you're divvying up who sees that dead body, right? Like that kid the other day, probably 7 to 10 people saw that kid, right, bro?
Wow.
Right, of our 2,000 cops, because out of our 2,000 cops, you got detectives, you have some people that work here, there, not even street cops, we have different districts and so on and so forth. So if you're going to just talk about the homicides, for example, you got 300 homicides to be divvied up between about 900 patrol officers, right? In NYPD, you got 300 homicides to be divvied up between 30,000 cops, and out of them, let's say 20,000 of them are patrol. Right. So how often do you think a patrol officer in NYPD is going to see a dead body? Right. Now, it could depend on where they work and things of that nature, but there's probably some cops at NYPD that like never sees people shot. Right. Baltimore City, you can't, you're going to see someone shot probably a week from Baltimore City, right? And the thing about that is, and that's just, we're just talking about shootings. We're not talking about beatings. We're not talking about child abuse. We're not talking about other heinous things they see, right? I say all that to say that's all trauma.
Correct.
And So yes, you can come in and get that test in the beginning, but does that test look the same, or does your mind look the same after 5 years of being exposed to that? Right. And then 10 years, and then 15 years, right? And it's not just about seeing that person shot, it's the backstory behind it, right? How frustrated are you with the parent? And I'm not saying it was a parent, it was a parent, let's just say a parent that leaves a gun in a place where a kid can get to, right? How frustrated are you with this person that's on the corner intimidating law-abiding citizens who just want to come home and not be bothered, but they want to sell drugs, they want to do these things, and you're intimidating them, and there's shooting, and things of that nature. That frustration level builds, and I know people don't like to hear that, or it's not popular, but it's human. Right. It's human to feel some type. There are people in Baltimore that are carjacking 60-year-old women, throwing them out of their cars without caring. You come on that scene, right, and that's someone's grandmother laid out because she got thrown out of her car, punched in the face. So some, 18-year-old could steal her car. Then you chase that, you catch that person. What happens in that split second to the time you just catch
It might be a little bit more aggressive than
right. Now, it's not right. I'm not saying it is, right? That's why we have to work on that mental health. We have to do things to really be on top of that, because those are real emotions, right?
Yeah.
What if you just left your grandmother's funeral 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, and then that happens, and you're the first one in that call?
So that's the correlation you was talking.
Those are the correlations of how things change. That call, when your grandmother's alive and well, is a lot different than 2 weeks after your grandmother just died.
Yeah, no, you're giving a lot of great insight, very substantive, thought-provoking, and quite frankly, a little exhausting, just as far as trying to keep up with all the parts, because I know you lived this, like you said, for 27 years. I'm trying to really follow because everything's worthwhile. What about, is there anything in place to identify an officer who may be simply burnt out, right? We hear that terminology a lot in sales or on a job. Hey, that guy's burnt out, or she's burnt out. Now, if I don't sell another Comcast phone, who cares?
Who cares, right?
Right? You don't see how they care. That, or internet service, right? You know what I mean?
That burnt out officer cover.
Right. Them, however, that could be the loss of somebody's life,
Right.
or several lives, or like you're saying about the compounding effect, where a situation happens, but then the people that are in relation to that person, good or bad, that happened, now there's just this domino effect where now we all have bad days, or now we all kind of regress. Now we all have to respond to something that happened. Is there anything in place to identify, when an officer or officers are burnt out?
Yeah. Yes, we have what we call early intervention system, where there's bunch of different things that trigger. It can be one single event. It can be the series of multiple events. It could be a side partner, a supervisor, or something, a body-worn camera audit, where like, I'm not with every cop on every call, but we have an audit system that they're looking at body-worn cameras. So let's say the auditors are seeing this person, they do something on a car stop that's just a little different, like, that officer's a little too aggressive for that particular situation. Let me check another car stop around the same time frame, that same day, next day, or whatever. And if they see too many, it'll trigger something that will that'll come to the command, go to health and wellness section. That officer will get evaluated. And then depending on that evaluation, what's going on, they'll get them back to as close to normal as possible. So that is in place. Okay. It's just a matter of timing, catching those things, right? It's new. The early intervention system in our department wasn't there for by 19 years. It was only there for probably the past 6-ish years, right? So these are all things where law enforcement is trying to evolve and be better, right? Because it's and then we also have the best person, though, is your side partner. I think about a horrible story where there was an officer who went to break up a fight between a guy and his girlfriend, The guy turns on the officer. They start to fight the officer in the middle of the street into a fight. And the guy, I think actually the officer's tooth out or tooth loose or something crazy or whatever. He gets arrested and he's released like right away.
So I don't know. Isn't an assault on the office just supposed to be treated differently than
Not treated
assault on two civilians? No.
not treated differently. He's out. He's right away basically. Within a day or two, he's out. So he's in the same area. And while he was being arrested, he's threatening the cop's family and things of that nature, right? So mind you, when he has a confrontation with this guy, the guy immediately punches him in the face. So that's his experience with this particular guy, where guys let out immediately, right? So he sees him maybe a week or so later. Guy smoking weed, open weed. He tells the guy, the officer talk to the guy. The guy tells him basically, get rid of it, put it out, whatever have you. And officer, leaves, drives around the block, giving him time to comply. Guy doesn't do it. Officer gets out the car now, has to approach him because at the end of the day, it's some job, absolutely. So he approaches him. God knows, smoke in his face. Officer pulls out a ticket book to give him a ticket for it. Right? Still trying to do what we call least intrusive, right?
Least intrusive?
Least intrusive, right? So we're not going to just, okay, he's smoking weed in public, let's lock him up. Okay, it's going to be tell him, give him a chance to comply. Okay. Now, next step is, okay, you don't want to comply, I have to go ahead and give you this ticket for it. And then after that, if you're not going to comply, now I have to take a chair. So officer pulls out a ticket book and the guy smacks the ticket book out the officer's hand. So what do you think is going through that officer's mind at that moment based on his history with this particular person, right? So fighter's on. Right. So the officer's now waiting, he starts hitting the guy. Well, the guy needs to swing first as far as in that particular situation. Officer's jail, lost his job and everything. Wow, yeah. And look, I'm not debating or trying to say it's right for an officer to do that, but I'm saying there's more context to what the public may know or see when they see that video of him swinging off of that guy. They don't know that there was a knockout, drag-out fight in the middle of the street X amount of time before a guy threatened his family. They don't know that he tried to let the guy comply because none of that matters, right? Or it's just real a cop. So,
and we don't usually hear that side of the story, No. That's not something that's publicized in the media as far as when cops loses their jobs or they get arrested, like you just mentioned. So that's it's from perspective,
and it's our fault as law enforcement. And I think it's a job to us. We know we have to do a job, so we don't speak about certain things. And I think it would do us a lot of good to really publicize. For example, in Baltimore City, we take thousands of guns from armed black men every year. Thousands. No exaggeration, right? Without shooting, killing, harming in any way, shape, or form. Mm-hmm. The people don't know that. But if you shoot one person, it's like, how? But we're talking odds here. How many people do you think we're going to approach that has a gun that it's going to just go perfect? Right? That's just not the reality. But I wonder if every day, when we're getting these guns off the street from these people without harming them, every day, if we're showing that to the public, if the public's not going to get in their mind that they can't keep doing that and it turn out fine, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not going to keep happening, right? Eventually, you can't let Steph Curry keep shooting threes. He's going to hit a three. It's got to happen, right? You can't just, so it's the bad thing's got to happen eventually. And I'm not saying that's okay, but I'm just saying that in law enforcement, when they don't know all of the other side, it looks like the one time we went to get a gun, they shot somebody. Yeah. And that's kind of what's a little disheartening, because all the good work can get erased from one instant, and it's like it can become disheartening.
It could become
disheartening. It can be disheartening.
Yeah.
And I feel like at times, we're the ones standing in between chaos. I mean, in a city like Baltimore, we're the ones who come there every day and try to balance against that chaos. And I was watching the show, and I can't think of what show it was right now off the top of my head. and they had a dinner scene where, there was one guy was a cop and the other person wasn't, and there was a little back and forth. And I could see the passion and the defund the police movement